Number 10. Gabrielle Union. Gabrielle and the Smiths have collided several times on the red carpet as their careers tended to be linked together from time to time. Gabrielle had established herself as a dramatic and comedic actor for a long time, but eventually moved into the world of action thrillers in her film Break-In. In the early years of her career, she would bump into Will and Jada a lot thanks to Will being a heavyweight in the comedy world. However, when they were together, there was just an awkward vibe. Apparently, the couple did not speak to Gabrielle for 17 years of interaction, and she couldn't figure out why. She claimed there was just always some kind of a tension between them every time they would see each other. A few years ago, Jada reached out to her to clear things up, and the conversation ended with them agreeing that they were all just divas at the time with diva mentalities and no one should be at fault. Jada invited Union onto Red Table Talk, which is now cancelled, and said that she needed to apologize for her behavior, claiming that she was in a terrible place and is in a much better one now. Union later appeared on Today and shared that they were both insecure and that's what caused the rift, but it's mighty convenient that she was ready to talk once she had a platform to record and release this conversation onto. Oh yeah, make up with a celebrity and make money online before you get shut down. Awesome. Number 9. Vivica A. Fox. For those of you who may not remember, Vivica actually starred opposite of Will Smith in the film Independence Day as his wife. Fox made her opinion on the Smith family public when Will did his thing at the Oscars ceremony in 2022. She claimed that Will deserved a second chance while bashing Jada's comments on the situation. During an appearance on the Wendy Williams show, Fox tearfully reacted to Jada's Red Table Talk remarks about moving forward after the incident. Jada basically just wanted to put the whole thing in the past and believed that there were overreactions on both sides. Vivica was Will's co-star in Independence Day, but she also worked with Jada on the film Set It Off in the same year, so she was more than familiar with their day-to-day lives. Jada commented following the show that she had no part in what happened and felt awful, thinking the entire thing at the Oscars was a skit. Right. Number 8. Chris Rock. Chris Rock has felt firsthand, literally, the power behind Will Smith's palm, but following the Oscars incident, he was able to clap back in his own way. Chris delivered the first ever live stand-up special on Netflix earlier this year. Chris Rock's Selective Outrage was a title made in reference to Will Smith. His special was filled with a lot of jokes, but he closed out the night with a little bit of a roast of Will and Jada. He started by saying that he had nothing to do with the slap and that Will had selective outrage. Chris didn't have any entanglements or anything like that. He didn't cheat on anybody, so why was Will so mad at him? He then repeatedly called Will Smith the B word and then moved on to Jada. He said that he was shocked when she attempted to have him removed as the host of the Oscars in 2016 during the whole Oscars So White controversy. The roasts were devastating, and if there is anything to take away from the night is that the Smiths suck. And that Chris Rock knew it. Number 7. Leah Remini. For those who don't know, Jada is a woman of science. Now I can't talk about what that means, but if you ever Google L. Ron Hubbard and science, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Leah Remini, who you may know from King of Queens or Old School, is more than just an actor. She's also very outspoken against Will and Jada Smith. The rumors that Will and Jada were big into science was something that Leah mentioned in her book, Troublemaker, Surviving Hollywood and Weird Science, and brought it up again when speaking to the Daily Beasts in 2017. She claimed to know for certain that Jada was involved for quite some time. Now, she had seen Will once in a blue moon, but she did spot Jada attending several events at the Celebrity Center in Hollywood. When Leah claimed to have this knowledge, Jada clapped back on Twitter, naming all of the houses of worship that she has visited without being a member. A year later, Leah appeared on the Red Table Talk show to hash things out. After the interview, Jada just gushed about how they connected in the interview and claimed that they were two broken little babies inside of them that just were abandoned by their parents as kids and they needed to let out. And yeah, Leah just said that that woman needed help. Number 6. 50 Cent. Jada and her entanglement with August Alsina was news that kinda shocked the world, but not really, when it was revealed on Red Table Talk. For 50 Cent, this was one of the most annoying things he ever had to hear in his entire life. Following the revelation, social media users flocked to Instagram, sharing their opinions and their messages with their friends, including 50 Cent. He contacted Will Smith, who was his buddy, and ended up cursing him out. 50 asked him why Jada said all that stuff on a show for the world to see, adding that she said only she can give permission permission for someone to blow her back out, which I don't know what that means. Like, do you turn a big fan on like in the movies? Will responded with more swearing, and in October of 2021, 50 decided to comment on the marriage again, having the same issue that a ton of people have with this woman. Jada is just picking and choosing her moments to make things happen and revealing information about her book because it stirs the pot. If you watch the interviews where she reveals all of this information, you can actually just see her zoning out and like faking her way through the interaction. I swear, every little vein on her head is a secret, all the while she's just manically laughing in her head. 50 posted on his Instagram story asking Jada why she had to share her entire life with the world when it just called her character into question. Number 5. August Alsina. The world was shocked when R&B singer August Alsina came forward to confirm one of the longest standing rumors around Jada and Will's marriage, admitting that he had an affair with Jada Smith in 2015. During an interview, he claimed that he actually sat down with Will Smith and received his blessing due to the nature of their relationship shifting. He insisted that the couple had nothing to be ashamed of and that, hey, he loves the Smith family, man. While Will Smith denied ever giving him a blessing, in fact, he didn't even know that this was a thing until he heard about it from Jada. Jada admitted to the entanglement on Red Table Talk, where she explained to her husband that it was a moment she regretted, all the while referring to the infidelity as an entanglement. It doesn't make any sense. Use the right words, Jada. While many were, of course, confused as to why she would admit this on the internet for millions to see, they also started to wonder if she might have taken advantage of August, because at the time he was only 22 and he had struggled with his health, suffering from an autoimmune condition that left him hospitalized multiple times. Jada even admitted to being his mentor at the time, which, I don't know, it sounds like a pretty weird mentor-mentee relationship if you ask me. That's how many times I've done this. The screen just blacked out and I got it. Number 4. Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to his time on the sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. The show followed Will as the titular prince, living with his wealthy family in Bel-Air with cousins, uncles, and of course Aunt Viv. Now in season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Witten, but as a lot of people know, she was recasted after a feud with Will Smith went too far. According to Will, Janet viewed him as an antagonist in her life. She had been in the business for so long when Will Smith suddenly popped in there, and she held such a tinge of jealousy towards this guy because he was able to just show up and get a job. She was trying to convince the producers of the show to give her character more screen time and allow her to breathe on camera, but they said no because it wasn't the Aunt Viv show. Nah, she fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out of the rest of the series and be replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid. Her hatred for Will and his family has always been well known, with her constant gripe being that one man should not have this much power, especially in a Hollywood setting. Will has moved on from his Fresh Prince days, but Janet will never forget the pain that this man caused her. Number 3. Stacey Dash. Stacey started her career just like Will Smith, in a little project in the 90s, but for Will it was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Stacey it was the movie Clueless. But as Will got into movies, Stacey made her move out of film and into politics. When Will and Jada announced that they were boycotting the Oscars in 2016, Dash was front and center in the crowd of confused individuals. Stacey went on air to share her views, which kinda made sense, which was that the issue Jada and Will had with that year, for those who don't remember, was that there were no people of color nominated for an Oscar in a majority of the categories. So Will and Jada, along with many other people, announced that they would be boycotting the event. Stacey called Jada's choice questionable, as the real issue wasn't that there were no nominees, but that Hollywood had given so few people of color the opportunity to perform in leading roles that year. Now, as the years have gone by, more and more opportunities have arisen, and as we all know, Will Smith eventually won an Oscar in a very scary night. It's a real Cinderella story, get this man a glass slipper and put a little dress on him, I don't know, we'll talk about that some other time. To summarize, Jada Smith bad, and she is no longer allowed at the Oscars. Number 2. Will Smith. According to fans, Will Smith has been secretly trying to tell us his marriage to Jada was in shambles for years. TikTok users and hardcore Jada fans flooded the platform with so-called proof that Will was trying to tell us something. The first clip that was submitted as evidence was Will and Jada's Red Table Talk interaction, in which she admitted to the entanglement with August Alsina and simultaneously admitted to a little separation between herself and Will. In the conversation, she literally says that herself and Will had basically broken up, but instead of just outright despite admitting that information right then and there, she just decided to hold on to it for when she needed to get a book released. Many Jada fans have commented on these resurfaced clips saying that Will looks drained, clearly dealing with a ton mentally and physically. When he has appeared in public outside of the realm of TV, he just always seemed down in the dumps, like something outside of his control was destroying him, and turns out it was Jada. Number 1. Jada Pinkett Smith. Now, if it isn't clear already from the years of sharing her private information for profit no matter who it hurts, Jada hates herself and her family hands down. Only someone who truly despises the way that they are would share what Jada has shared. Her love life, her personal life, and now everything down to what she eats for breakfast. If all you do is profit from your own pain, that is sad. Plus, it's no surprise that Jada has shared her juicy little gossip only days before her new book is set to release. A lot of people speculate that her whole life is one big PR stunt. Over the years, she's been in media for a ton of things like boycotting the Oscars, getting fired from her own talk show, or honestly just general nonsense that comes from this woman. Now, why share all this information with the world if there isn't a little part of you that deep inside wants to warn them of your true intentions?
First up, of course, we have Chris Rock. The person who has shown the world the true dynamic of the Smith family is definitely Chris Rock. After Will smacked Chris on stage at the Oscars, the world got to see a different side of Will, and it was shocking. While comedian Chris Rock was speaking to the crowd and taking some dig at the celebrities in the audience, Rock decided to take a jab at Jada Pinkett Smith, and I'm sure you know what happens next. Chris said, quote, "Jada, love you, G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it," referencing her almost bald head, because in the movie G.I. Jane, the lead actress Demi Moore had a shaved head. Jada has been open about her struggle with alopecia, and that's why she shaved her head that night. Immediately after the joke, Will Smith decided to get up, interrupt the broadcast, and slap Chris Rock in the face for millions to see. Chris looked stunned and was not sure exactly how to respond. Will then walked back to his seat and yelled, quote, "Shut your mouth, keep my wife's name out of your effing mouth," twice. After the slap, Rock looked completely stunned, having no idea what to do or say. It looked like he was about to clap back and say another harsh joke about Will or his family, but Rock took the high road and decided to stay calm. The internet was set ablaze by the slap, with many not even sure if it was real or just staged for publicity. But considering the aftermath, it was clearly real. Although many pointed out that Will actually laughed at the joke moments before deciding to get up and slap Chris Rock. After this event, many are accusing Jada of wearing the pants in their relationship and manipulating Will to do her dirty work for her. There's a chance that he was simply defending his wife, but many believe that Will knew that if he didn't do something to avenge her honor in that moment, Will would have been in trouble. Even though the event was said to be the biggest night of Will Smith's life, which definitely it was, just not in the way that he wanted. Next up, August Alsina. After the infamous Oscars slap, old reports that Jada had cheated on Will in the past resurfaced. The pair have spoken about how they are in an open marriage, so we are not sure if it was really cheating or not, but Jada admitted she was in a quote entanglement with rapper August Alsina during a break with her husband. During the Red Table Talk segment where they spoke of the affair, Will looked visibly angry about the situation and pushed Jada to confirm that she did have a relationship with August. After admitting to cheating, she did not apologize or even seem remorseful. She instead deflected, saying, quote, "I was in a lot of pain, I was very broken," saying she only wanted to help August, but it turned into a relationship. Alsina had been introduced to Jada by her son Jaden at a London music festival in 2015. Insiders stated that August became like a member of their family, even going on vacations with them and staying in their mansion. August is 21 years younger than Jada, and he claimed that Smith had actually given his blessing to have an affair with his wife, an allegation that Jada has denied. Will also reported that he had affairs with other women during this time. He was rumored to have slept with co-star Margot Robbie. Many believe that Will's insane reaction to the joke is proof that he is in a toxic relationship with his wife, because he completely embarrassed himself on the biggest night of his life, all because of a bad joke. Even though it doesn't seem like Jada is ashamed of anything she did, it is strange that she tried to deny it, then downplayed it when she could not brush it off anymore. And without August coming forward, we would have never known about their strange relationship. Margot Robbie. Jada most likely hates actress Margot Robbie because it was rumored that Margot and Will had an affair while they were filming the movie Focus. But that's not all. Jada has also admitted that she has a bias against white women with blonde hair, which we assume attributed to this dislike. In 2018, Jada made headlines when she admitted on Red Table Talk that she has a racial bias, specifically admitting that she has a problem with blonde white women, saying on the episode, quote, "I do have my own biases, specifically with blonde women. Blonde hair on white women just triggers me, and I've had to catch myself." Pinkett Smith even admitted that she second-guessed doing interviews with blonde women in the past because they remind her of the type of kids who used to tease her in school. But Jada has worked hard to fix this bias and even admitted that white women still do face oppression based on their gender, making it easier to relate to them. Next up, Cherie Zampino. Cherie Zampino was married to Will Smith before he and Jada got married. The shady part is that Will and Jada started dating before he and Cherie were officially divorced. Jada's mother, Adrienne Banfield-Jones, dished on Access, quote, "I think initially when Will first called you, I think he was still married or he was just separated, and I was like, he's not available to you." Jada added that Will was div, but the orst didn't happen yet. But Jada later admitted that when she learned things were not finalized, she should have backed off. To make matters worse, Jada has claimed on multiple occasions that she never even wanted to marry Will. She only decided to go forward with it because she was pregnant. Her mother and Will thought that starting a family was the best idea, and Jada reluctantly agreed. Later, the couple agreed to an open marriage. Scientology connections. After the Chris Rock incident, some started connecting the dots between the bizarre slap and Scientology. This is because the Smiths have been tied to Scientology in the past, and physical punishment is a popular teaching in the church. Apparently, it's a common teaching in Scientology to use slaps and other forms of physical force to show other Scientologists that they've done something wrong. After the slap, one user tweeted, quote, "There's a Scientology course, I guess you'd call it, that involves slapping or physically humiliating fellow Scientologists in a group setting as a means of exerting superiority. It's remarkably common within the cult." The user even shared that Tom Cruise is known to use similar styles of punishment, but instead of hitting, he uses shouting to intimidate movie crews. Although the Smiths have denied being involved with Scientology, the connection is pretty hard to deny. The couple were apparently introduced to the church by none other than Tom Cruise back in 2004. They got so involved with it that the Smith family spent almost $1 million in 2008 to set up a school for the church. The Smiths said they designed the curriculum in the school, but insiders claimed it was based on Scientology. Both Jaden and Willow attended, but the school closed 6 years later when most of the parents removed their children. Tony Ortega, an expert in Scientology, said that the Smiths left Scientology in 2015 and that Will at least only ever dabbled in it. However, he says that Jada was a full-fledged member and apparently everyone knows it. Next up, William Hendricks. The Oscars was the first time that many Will Smith fans saw him get violent. But to people like William Hendricks, his hot temper is well known. In 1989, Smith spent a night in jail after he hurt a man named William Hendricks so badly that Hendricks almost lost his sight. Even more coincidental, this incident happened days after Will won his first Grammy. I guess he likes to get into altercations around award season. The charges were later dropped against Will. Will Smith was 20 years old at the time and after getting in a verbal argument with the producer, decided to make things physical. As per a police report, Smith asked his bodyguard, Charles Alston, to quote attack record promoter William Hendricks, who needed 6 stitches after he fractured his left eye orbit during the altercation. Next up, Sony executives. One of the strangest things about the Smith family is the couple's relationship to their children. The Smiths have been open that they don't use punishment when dealing with their kids, and they pretty much let them do whatever they want. But this parenting style may have backfired, because it's common talk in the industry that Willow and Jaden are entitled brats that nobody wants to work with. Because of their parents, the kids have auditioned for many big roles in the past, but only Jaden has landed roles alongside his father. It was exposed that Sony executives have exchanged emails saying not to allow the Smith kids in their movies. As a response to this, Will shrugged and noted how, quote, everyone disses his kids. Some of this might stem from the differences between Will and Jada and how much fame they want their kids to have. Sources say that Will wants to push his kids to fame much more than Jada wants to, leading to a clear difference in parenting. Considering Will admits to being responsible for their kids' erratic behavior, it's not far-fetched to think that there's a clear difference in what both parents want for their children.
Number 10. Adam Sandler. Is it really a surprise that Adam Sandler was publicly supportive of his acting buddy Chris Rock after the whole Oscars incident? Following the ceremony, Adam shared a promotional image from Rock's world tour from 2022, captioning, "Can't wait for this." They worked together for years, first meeting on the set of Saturday Night Live in the early 90s, and they starred in so many movies together, from Grown Ups to The Longest Yard to You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Yeah, remember that movie? I wish I didn't. Of course, Adam has never actually gone on camera and said that this lady is a menace, but he has certainly implied it. His post with Rock's poster was only days after the Oscars incident. Will, of course, posted an apology video regarding the incident that a lot of people felt was forced and didn't really help the situation. Adam and Chris have more than likely been roasting the Smith family over and over again in the privacy of their own homes. Number 9. Cherie Zampino. Will Smith's ex-wife Cherie Zampino has still been fairly involved in the lives of the Smith family. While herself and Jada supposedly get along now, it took a long time to get to where they are. During an episode of Red Table Talk, a show whose name literally raises my blood pressure, Smith and her co-hosts were joined by Zampino to have an open conversation about how their relationship had evolved over the years. She admitted that when first dating Will, she really had to fake it till she made it. Trying to have a blended family when you really don't like the other person is Jada's personal nightmare. She said it was very difficult to find common ground. Jada claimed that she wasn't mature enough at the time, and she did not properly understand the dynamics of marriage. Marrying Will meant that Cherie was going to be coming along as part of the package. Sometimes Jada was made to watch the little ones and actually shared one particularly odd story about lashing out at Cherie one day when her son Trey misbehaved at her house, berating the young boy for being a little bit too rowdy for Jada's liking. Apparently Zampino also did not have much of a sense of boundaries, so Jada told a few stories of times when she would just come into the house and make herself comfortable. Number 8. Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie is not just the woman who famously portrayed the live-action version of Betty Rubble in the Flintstones from 1994. No. She is also the woman who voiced Turk in the Disney classic Tarzan. Now that you know who she is, let's talk about the Smith family for a sec. Following the Oscars, she tweeted that she was very proud of Chris Rock for not obliterating Will Smith when he decided to lay his hands on the comedian. Rosie claimed that if Chris wanted to, he could eviscerate Will Smith any day of the week, but instead he decided to walk away. She said, "Bravo," and called Will Smith a sad, toxic, narcissistic madman. She continued to share her hate for Will by retweeting several of her celebrity friends, and one of her main grievances with the moment was the fact that the Academy literally stood by and did nothing. No one came to the stage to make sure that Chris was okay, nobody stopped Will as he was making his way towards the stage, and the Academy's only move following the night was a 10-year temporary ban from the Oscars. How about a charge and some community service, eh? Several stars from the evening were encouraging Chris to process charges, but he ultimately decided against it, probably feeling that there wasn't a need to get lawyers involved. Number 7. Tom Segura. Tom Segura was one of the many celebrities who started bashing Will Smith after he ruined the Oscars in 2022, and I'm not gonna repeat what that situation was, okay? You gotta watch part 1 if you don't know what happened, and then come back. Tom delivered a fiery take on the infamous moment, and I wish I could quote everything he said because it is just so good. So I'm gonna paraphrase it as best as I can. Addressing Will Smith directly, he said, "Let me tell you this. The idea that his entitled rear end thinks that because his feelings are hurt, he gets to hurt one of the all-time greats, calling Will a spineless coward that was now on Hollywood's blacklist." Later on, while diving deeper into the situation on the Pat McAfee show, he explained that it was a clear move of entitlement. Will Smith in the moment decided, yeah, you know what, I want to get out of my chair and strike Chris Rock in the face. It was like something out of a horror movie. This was something that was only discussed behind closed doors, but had never really happened live on stage, only for the audience to respond with muffles and later on applause going about the night like nothing happened. He said that Will probably thought there'd be like a fun little skit that would come out of the incident, but instead, he just caught a man off guard while he was trying to do his job. Number 6. Jim Carrey. Now, when you see Jim's face, one of two emotions comes to mind: joy and confusion. Growing up, Jim was my idol. This dude was in every movie that I loved. Ace Ventura, The Mask, and yes, Bruce Almighty, okay? I was 8 years old and that guy made the moon bigger. That was cool. But as time progressed, he got more and more introspective. These days, Jim's either sharing his thoughts with a crowd, painting in his studio, or filming the latest Sonic movie. In 2022, he was on Twitter voicing his opinions on Will Smith. Jim, like many celebrities, stood against Will, only he used some very strong language that I really wish I could talk about, but I can't. But the one thing that I can say is that Jim Carrey was quoted as saying that he was sickened, not only by the actions of Will Smith, but by Hollywood celebrities who still gave him a standing ovation for his win as Best Actor. He said that Hollywood is just spineless en masse, and the moment felt like a very clear indication that Jim was no longer in the cool club. He continued to say that he believed Will should have been escorted out of the building the moment that his hand touched Chris Rock's face. There are security guards all over the place on the the night of the Oscars, but because it was Will Smith walking on stage and not some rando, they decided that he was good to go. Jim claimed that Chris not pressing charges was ridiculous. If it had been him, he would have announced the morning after that he was suing Will for $200 million because that footage will exist forever. An insult that will last several lifetimes, well past either of their end dates. If Will wanted to yell from his chair or voice his pain somewhere else, that's fine. But what was not fine was walking up on stage in frustration and anger. Number 5. Wanda Sykes. During the Oscars in 2022, Chris Rock was introduced to the stage by two comedy legends, Wanda Sykes and Regina Hall. Wanda in particular remembers having to rush back to her trailer, but during that brief moment that she was gone, the incident went down. As she got back to the stage, Will Smith was already making his way back to his chair. When Wanda was told what had happened, she was devastated. She claimed that in the moment she felt physically ill and still is a bit shaken from the experience to this day. Wanda has acknowledged that Will had released an apology video, but that no one had apologized to herself or her fellow presenters. Wanda reminded Will that he was invited into her house while she was on stage, and while everyone else was on stage and tasked with presenting, Will was in their domain. He violated the rules and their trust when he walked up to Chris Rock. In fact, she revealed that she ran into Chris Rock backstage and he apologized to her. For like what? He said it was supposed to be her night, but that it now became about Will and Chris. Wanda was heartbroken when Chris felt like he had to say something when it wasn't even his fault in the slightest. Unfortunately, they were right, as when you look up the Oscars in 2022, there are much more articles about the two men rather than the three women. Number 4, Judd Apatow. Judd is a well-known director from some solid movies. This dude tends to be pretty good at his job. Following the Oscars incident, he released a series of tweets, one of which was a direct warning to Amy Schumer regarding Will and his slap, claiming it to be as soft as his raps. Judd Apatow tweeted that he believed if Will had put enough force behind his hand, that he might have actually ended Chris Rock's life, just judo chopping his head clean off. In a now deleted post, he continued to remind audiences that Will has heard many roasts over the years, probably millions of jokes about himself and his wife. They are freshmen in the world of comedy, and this guy needs to learn how to control his rage. If something that small could set him off, that's a problem. Judd is a man who is well known for having the ability to blend comedy and tragedy into one coherent story, but this incident hurt him on a personal level, and there was nothing that would stop him from trying to warn the rest of the world. Number 3, Howard Stern. Howard has always taken the opportunity to share his opinions every second of every day. When the Oscars audience clapped for Will rather than drowning him with a barrage of boos, Howard let his audience know that he was furious. The furiosity actually came from a fairly decent place. Following the Oscar situation, something similar happened to comedian Dave Chappelle, where he was on stage and rushed by a fan during his set. Dave was in the middle of a joke when an audience member ran towards the stage. Thankfully, they were taken out by security before anything too dangerous went down, but still. However, he continued and called Will Smith several mean words for being a major part of influencing the situation. There have been a handful of similar situations since, but Howard blames Will Smith for everything, creating a sense of concern for anyone who steps on a stage from here on out. Number 2, Olivia Jade. For those of you who may not know, Olivia is the daughter of Lori Loughlin from Full House, who was the lady who tried to bribe Olivia's way into school, but remember, she got caught and she was exposed. Following the exposing, Olivia appeared on Red Table Talk, Jada's terrible talk show that brings nothing but negativity into the world, and the conversation went horribly. Right off the bat, it was clear that Jada's mother did not want Olivia onto the show, complaining that she was the child of two people who paid $500,000 to get their kid into school, illegally through the athletic department to be specific. But it was also revealed that Olivia had reached out to the show, choosing it to be where she revealed her side of the situation. Miss Banfield Norris claimed that it was the epitome of white privilege, and that she chose to come on a show led by 3 women of color, continuing to say that Olivia would be fine. But by the end of the conversation, Olivia had gotten the crew on her side and things ended well. She revealed that she hadn't spoken to her parents since they were arrested. And at number 1, Kris Jenner. A decade ago, Kylie Jenner and Jaden Smith were touting a very public friendship in the press. Behind the scenes, it's believed that they dated for a little while, but photos that the Daily Mail published of Jaden and Jenner emerged from a dark movie theater helped to seal their relationship narrative. In the viral photos, the stars walked closely as Jaden seemingly and unknowingly sported Jenner's foundation. Of course, bad lighting could have been the cause for the awkward pictures, but the logistics suggest that a very romantic movie date went down. Now, by 2019, Jordyn Woods and Kylie Jenner were total BFFs, even though the Smiths family were basically her surrogates thanks to her late father's staff job on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Unfortunately, Jenner and Woods' friendship came crashing down in February of that year after Woods was accused of kissing Kristen Thompson, Khloe Kardashian's on and off again man friend who had recently fathered her first child. Needless to say, the news inspired worldwide hysteria, on social media at least, and while the world eventually got back to normal, Woods' relationship with the Kardashian family, especially Kylie and Khloe, was effectively done. But before Woods had the chance to regain confidence with the Kardashians, Jada Pinkett Smith made a noteworthy move on her social medias when she unfollowed the entire Kardashian family except for Kylie Jenner weeks after a Red Table Talk episode aired. What happened on that episode? Guess you'll have to find out in the next entry.